Welcome to another PFF College Football Review. Max Chadwick alongside Dalton Wassman here, breaking down the Sugar Bowl in the College Football Playoff quarterfinal. Notre Dame takes down Georgia 23-10. Dalton, let's go over our highest graded players, starting off with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and their highest graded player is edge defender R.J. Oben, who was fan-freaking-tastic with a 91.2 grade in this game. Aiden Schuler, the safety, 82.7. Leonard Moore, the corner, 75.5. Offensive tackle Emil Wagner with a 74 grade. Jack Kaiser, the linebacker, 72.5. And Riley Leonard, the quarterback, with a 63.7 grade. Let's go over to Georgia with their highest graded players in the loss. Linebacker Raylan Wilson, 82.9. Christian Miller, the D-tackle, at 81.2 grade. Dalen Everett, the corner, 79.1. True freshman safety KJ Bolden with a 78.9 grade. Offensive tackle Ernest Green III, 70.3. And Gunnar Stockton in his first career start with a 57.8 grade. So Notre Dame now moves on to play Penn State in the College Football Playoff semifinal in the Orange Bowl. But Dalton, for you in this game, what was the stat that told the story?
So I think there's a lot of dimensions we could go into with this game, and we're going to, especially on the Georgia side. But I think as far as the game itself, it was really that middle sequence where Notre Dame scored 17 points in 54 seconds of game time, right? They had a nice drive that they put together, got a Mitch Jeter field goal out of it. You know, they were up 6-3, 39 seconds to go. And honestly, I thought it was a spot with Gunnar Stockton in and playing reasonably well. He made a few throws in the first half, but he's also obviously a young quarterback making his first start against an elite defense. I thought Kirby would take it kind of conservative, run the football, run the clock out, and go into halftime pretty satisfied with a 6-3 score with the way his defense was playing, with the way Stockton was managing the game reasonably well, and they did have some missed opportunities. And then they dropped back to pass, and on the first play, R.J. Oben strip sacks Gunnar Stockton. Notre Dame scores on the next play. They take advantage of the biggest mistake of the game. Then Georgia runs out the clock on the last drive to kill the last 30 seconds, and Jaden Harrison returns the opening kickoff, and all of a sudden the game went from 3-3, and in the span of a minute of game time went to 20-3. There was no chance that Georgia was coming back from a 20-3 deficit. It just was not happening. I'm not sure they would have done it with Carson Beck against this defense the way they've been playing all season, but it's just that sequence for me, and I think that's the biggest thing that stands out to me is Kirby trying to keep Gunnar Stockton aggressive. I think it's an extremely low probability that he would have scored any points, even a field goal, in 39 seconds. I know they had 2 timeouts, but sometimes that's why coaches go in that spot with kind of the drive starter play, maybe even a run play, just to see if we get a first down to cut a chunk into that yardage. But for them to drop back, Georgia wasn't going to win this game with their drop back passing game, and they really haven't all year. We've talked about the splits for Carson Beck between play action and non-play action, how much their wide receivers have struggled and all of that. And for that to be the spot, and Kirby even admitted it right at the halftime interview, right before they went in the locker room. He goes, I probably regret that one, staying that aggressive there. And I get it. That's really, I think it cost him the game. And then at 13-3, of course, it's still at least reachable. Once Jaden Harrison returned that kickoff, it was too uphill a battle. But that sequence right there, 17 points in 54 seconds, for as many numbers as we could dig into, and we've dug into a Georgia offensively all year, that sequence really was the ball game right there. 1 minute of just a complete breakdown from Georgia, that was the difference in the game.
And what makes Kirby Smart the best coach in college football, in my opinion, is the fact that he knows exactly what kind of game he's getting into every game he gets into. That was the first time I was like, oh, he messed up. Like, because this is a rock fight. We knew this is a rock fight. And when you go into that and you say, okay, go into halftime, 3-3, let our defense play great, and then maybe we could win this ball game. And like you said, when you try to be aggressive and try to make it a high-scoring game by going for it on your own 20 or whatever with 30 seconds left, and you get a strip sack, and then they score a touchdown, and then obviously kickoff return touchdown, you can't really control that either. But yeah, like I said, it's 2 uphill battle. And why it was a rock fight, Georgia, negative .301 EPA per play in this game. It's their worst in a game since the world's largest outdoor cocktail party against Florida. Not this year, not last year, Dawn. Back in 2016, when Kirby Smart was in his first season as the Georgia head coach, Jacob Eason was the quarterback of Georgia in that year. Nick Chubb was the leading rusher for Georgia in that year. So we're talking about 8 years ago was the last time the Georgia offense was this bad, honestly. And this inefficient in a game was back in that 2016 loss that they had to Florida. In this game, Georgia only averaged 4.6 yards per play, 0.8 points per drive. Nothing was going right for this Georgia offense. You knew it would be a struggle throwing the ball with a backup quarterback in his first career start against, like you said, an elite defense with a really good secondary and really, again, an underwhelming receiving core that Georgia has as well. It's not like Gunnar Stockton had Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers to throw it out there. This Georgia receiving core has been underwhelming all year. They lead the nation in drops, and we've seen that happen a couple times yesterday in the game as well. The two constants, though, that Georgia's had in the offense all year was the offensive line and the run game. None of them could really work because Notre Dame was able to stack the box on Georgia. They knew, hey, let's just dare Gunnar Stockton play a lot of cover one, dare Gunnar Stockton make some throws, stack the box, stop the run, and beat this offensive line. Just an absolutely terrific game plan by Marcus Freeman in all facets to win this game and completely shut down a shorthanded Georgia offense. I really thought it was a terrific game plan, but Georgia, like I said, the least efficient game they've had in 8 years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you mentioned Marcus Freeman. It was it was a great game plan, and it wasn't that far from what Notre Dame usually does, right? They bring the heat. They wanted to stop the run on early downs, keep Gunnar Stockton in the pocket, and play as tight a man coverage as they've played all year. And outside a couple of plays, they did that, right? And I mean, if you're going to play man coverage almost every single play, they're going to hit a few of them, right? The big ball to Dylan Bell early, the Cash Jones touchdown. These things are going to happen, but they will take their chances and go, listen, Gunnar, if you throw for 350, fine, you win.
Yeah.
Go for it. You win if you throw for 350 because we're betting you can't do it.
It's like Penn State with the Boise State game plan. Basically,
yeah.
Hey, Maddox Masson beat us. Go ahead, try to beat us.
Go ahead, please. Yeah, if you do it, you did it. You had the legacy game. Fine. But and I think for me, that's why my most impressive part of this game is just on the whole Notre Dame's run defense. They held Georgia to 92 rushing yards. That's a season low. And when you look this year, I think with Georgia this year, the story of their season, the one thing that tells the story of their season was the inability to replace Bowers and McConkey.
Yeah.
The weapons, their wide receivers were 102nd receiving grade this season. They just never replaced elite production from two guys who are now obviously NFL stars. And it showed not only in the passing game because, like you mentioned, stack the box, now you stop the run. Now Georgia's got nothing. Their 4 lowest rushing totals this year, 4 games where they had 102 yards rushing or less. They went 1-3, and the one win was 13-12 over Kentucky. If you stopped the run, you knew Georgia couldn't get in the drop-back passing game. It just wasn't there all year. We saw it, they tried in the second half against Alabama. There were moments when Carson Beck got hot. When you get hot against Auburn, Mississippi State, though, I can't take a whole lot of stock in it. These are 2 of the worst teams in the SEC. The second half against Bama, but he was so bad in the first half. And how many turnover-worthy plays he had that game? At least 4, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, it was just never consistent. 55.9 rushing grade in this game for Georgia. Second worst we've ever tracked. We've been doing this since 2014. The only one worse was their loss to Georgia Tech in 2014. Minus 0.405 EPA per rush. That's the 4th worst we've ever tracked for Georgia. I mean, you had the ETN fumble early that hurt him bad.
Deep into Notre Dame
deep
territory.
in Notre Dame territory. That hurt him bad. You got a drive going there. You score a touchdown on that drive.
Yep.
You got a whole different ball game. This game, there was a chance that this game was going to come down to just who scored the first touchdown. Really. And it could have been right there. And Georgia up 7-0 with the way their defense was playing. They actually could have gotten on a road to starting to win this game here, but they didn't run the ball effectively. Notre Dame stopped them. Aiden Schuler with the forced fumble on ETN. Drake Bowen and Jack Kaiser were good as they always are. Xavier Watts on the back end. I mean, we talked about it over and over. How much better has he gotten at tackling?
So much better.
77.7 run defense grade with 3 stops. And guy I want to point out, too, the 74.3 run defense grade. Gabriel Rubio on the inside, starting in place of Riley Mills, who's obviously done for the season now. Fantastic job inside in there with Howard Cross. Also, just a complete team effort from Notre Dame. The emphasis on stopping the run. 25 carries, 92 yards, 28 of them on 1 carry on the toss sweep by Nate Frazier. So their other 24 carries, 2.6 per carry. Can't win like that. Georgia can't win like that. We've seen their tackles struggle. We've seen the passing game struggle. Notre Dame's run defense was great, and that was the emphasis in this game. It's why they won this game on defense, aside from that sequence in the middle of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. My most impressive has to be Marcus Freeman because obviously his defense was outstanding in this game. But honestly, Dalton, so many people wrote off Notre Dame after the Week 2 game against Northern Illinois for good, honestly. And after all, listen, if the Fighting Irish lost another game after that, they're probably not making the playoff.
Absolutely not.
Right? So they needed to win 10 in a row to even make the playoff after a horrible loss. Like, that loss in Northern Illinois is worse than any other playoff team's loss to anyone else this year. And yet they did it. They won 10 in a row. They beat a very good, yes, I said it, very good Indiana team in the first round of the playoff. And then you vanquish Georgia in the quarterfinal. Now, the Fighting Irish are in the Final Four for the first time since that COVID 2020 season, and the first time under Marcus Freeman as well. Just an incredible job, and credit to him for never wavering and rallying his troops and to make the run they did with their backs against the wall. Now they're one win away from playing in the national championship game. So not only Marcus Freeman for the game plan yesterday, I know that whole sequence on fourth down that made Georgia jump off sides, that was terrific coaching as well. I think former PFFer Anthony Tresh might have had a little bit to do with that as well.
There's some good analysts around there.
He turned around. He gave Anthony Tresh like a little head nod after that play. So shout out to Tresh for that one. But absolutely a terrific game plan by Marcus Freeman, though, on that play, and obviously on defense as well, and obviously the entire game plan, the entire game. He outcoached Kirby Smart in that game, which is crazy to say. I mean, because Kirby Smart is the best coach in the country.
And I think if you had picked Georgia to win this game previously, your reason was
Kirby Smart.
Yeah. And his defense, obviously. But it was Kirby Smart, and just being Kirby Smart and having the national title experience and just the guile of getting his team anywhere he needs him to be at any given point, right? And I think two other guys I want to point out for Notre Dame also. I thought Mike Denbrock made some really nice adjustments. Offensively, not so much for, we're lighting up the scoreboard with points, but I think there was parts of this game that reminded me a lot of the Louisville game. And in their run game, Riley Leonard was the equalizer. What did Jeremiah Love have in this game? Like 19 yards?
Yeah, he's like, I think he's sick. He's battling like a sickness.
It might be, but either way, Georgia shut him down between the tackles, like we talked about in the preview. Georgia's defense, honestly, was fantastic in this game, too. They just couldn't overcome the deficiencies of the offense, and the kick return was huge. Also, you got to remember the one touchdown the defense gave up. Notre Dame had to get all of 12 yards. So Denbrock using Riley Leonard in the design run game was really a big equalizer for Notre Dame to just keep getting first downs and keep the ball moving, because the traditional run game for them with Love and Price wasn't going anywhere. Georgia's run defense was fantastic, too. The other guy, I just want to shout him out real quick. How about Mitch Jeter?
Oh, yeah.
3 for 3 in a game like this. With the year that he had, he came into the playoff 6 of 12 on field goals. It was struggling. He was injured in the middle of the season. He was out a couple of games, and he was a good kicker at South Carolina before this year. Max, he's 5 for 6 in these 2 playoff games. The one miss was blocked by Indiana. 4 of those 5 makes are from 40 and beyond. He hadn't made a 40-plus yard kick since week 5. And all of a sudden, this was actually a legitimate concern for Notre Dame coming into the playoff. It's like, can we kick field goals? And all of a sudden, Mitch Jeter's raging hot, too. And in a game like this where points are at a serious premium and he's hitting 40-plus yard kicks, I just want to give kudos to that guy, because it's been a rough year for him. And the last 2 weeks bouncing back, it's actually a big factor when you talk about a defensive team like Notre Dame playing in low-scoring games like this. And I'm betting next week might be one as well against Penn State. I just want to give credit to him, too. I think Notre Dame in all 3 phases came into this game really, really prepared. You have Jeter. You have the kick return from Jaden Harrison. Another impact transfer came from Marshall. Offensively, once they got ahead, they knew what they had to do. Just don't turn the ball over. Just don't turn. Even there was a point, even early in the third quarter, once they were up 20-3, I kept telling you when we were watching it together, it's like, don't throw the ball again. You don't have to throw the ball a single time. Just keep punting it to them, because they won't come back from 17 down, and just don't risk any sort of turnovers. Riley Leonard, look, 90 passing yards in this game, fine. That's just the way this game is going to go. You have no reason to force anything. I thought it was brilliant. It was brilliantly handled in all 3 phases by Notre Dame, and that's you have to play a game like that to beat Georgia, even shorthanded, and it was just spectacular. A terrific effort from them.
Absolutely. Notre Dame takes down Georgia 23-10 in the Sugar Bowl, and they will move on to play Penn State in the college football playoff semifinal in the Orange Bowl. I want to remind you guys, we will be doing our semifinal preview show tomorrow on Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, live here on the PFF College Football YouTube channel. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that. Again, semifinal preview is tomorrow. We're doing it as early as possible to get out as early as possible for you guys. So very excited to do that. Shout out to our producers back there, and Tyler and Eli. For Dalton Wassman, I'm Max Shadwick, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for our college football playoff semifinal preview show. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.